People have referenced Malick probably having an affinity with Simone Weil. Have you ever heard of Simone Weil? This is a book called Gravity and Grace. It says Weil, but I guess it's pronounced Weil.
Okay.
She was a Christian lady back in the 1930s and 40s who just did all kinds of, just like she would think through her thoughts about certain elements of Christianity or life in general and just write them down. Some of them are interesting. Some of them seem really crazy. But she was an interesting character. She worked like with the poor. She kind of ended up starving herself to death because she wanted to suffer so much because she thought that was truer than enjoying life. So she was a little out of touch, maybe. But I find myself respecting her. But her whole idea in this gravity and grace, which I think is just another way of saying what Terrence Malick did. But I'm not sure I understand it. So let me just read the first part of what she says here. All the natural movements of the soul are controlled by laws analogous to those of physical gravity. Grace is the only exception. We must always expect things to happen in conformity with the laws of gravity unless there is a supernatural intervention.
The supernatural intervention in this case, not a literal supernatural intervention, but a
Not
supernatural
literal.
intervention
Through the form of action of where, like, which I think is what the dinosaur scene was about.
That was a little
Which
cheesy.
it was, but I mean, I think that was the point, though, was that it I guess you could just call it a evolutionary improvement, maybe, to learn that not always attacking or killing can also be a good thing. But it was, some people might attribute it to supernatural intervention, but it could also be considered like a transcendence to a better state of reality, which is unnatural. It's not the natural way.
Yeah,
It's not just
yeah.
feeding.
Oh, so I guess by nature in this film, nature is chaos, self-protection.
Whatever. It's like the Darwinian
Yeah,
idea of strong, or survival of the fittest,
survival
rather
of the
than
fittest, right?
stronger of the. I was about to say it wrong. This one.
Alligators with guns.
Okay. Yeah,
They gave the alligators guns.
but I think that was the point. I don't. Yeah, I think it's
To transcend
there's
nature.
strength in the unnatural.
Yeah, to transcend nature is to not only accept the way that nature is, or maybe transcending nature is partially accepting the way that nature is, but also not only becoming a sort of a leaf in the wind, in the sense of, oh, if the wind is blowing this way, then I will. Everyone is cruel to each other and looking out for themselves. I will do the same. Is to have sort of your feet planted a little bit more, in a sense.
I think so. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's if survival of the fittest is the truest thing, then always being like brutal would always work. But human beings throughout history have found out that you need compassion in order to actually evolve, or at least
Right.
to stay strong. You need human relationships. That's like love or compassion itself is a trait that certain groups of animals that have risen to the top have. That
No,
ones
that's yeah. The alpha
yeah.
males in the troop of baboons are the ones not who are the strongest physically, but are the ones who have built reciprocal relationships with
Right,
other
yeah.
baboons and are respected by the females. And the strongest baboon doesn't necessarily or even usually win.
Yeah, or I mean, like elephants, they actually care for and love the people or the other elephants that are in their whatever group of elephants. I don't know what a group of elephants is called, but
That's one thing that really struck me when I was volunteering at the Baboon Center in Africa. Is there was a big enclosure and they were preparing the baboons to be released. And they had a special release mechanism, but they were preparing them for release. And the troop had worked out all of their social hierarchy, and you had these patrols on the outside, and these were the baboons that were just giant hulking baboons with huge teeth, the ones that would rip your face off if they had the chance. And then you could see the alpha male in there with binoculars, just kind of like sitting cool, so cool, surrounded by a couple of females. Then the small young adolescents in the top of the trees looking out for any dangers that might be far away. And if they saw, for example, me coming, they'd go, ah, 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 and they'd set up a cry, and then they'd decide what to do based on that cry. Now, it's just a human walking up to the enclosure. Don't worry about it. But they had raised that alpha male from birth, basically, because his mother had been killed by local farmers, and
Hmm.
they were able to sort of they had charts of the personality types of all the baboons, and the ones that were on the perimeter were the ones who were the Brad Pitts. They were the ones who were maybe the strongest, the best fighters, and the one
Right.
the one in the middle was, you could read his personality profile. When he grew up, he was very social, and he was famous for doing reciprocal where you
Activities.
eat the ticks out of the other baboon's
Oh yeah,
fur, right?
helping people clean.
Grooming, that's the word I was looking for. You do reciprocal grooming. But he was also strong, but he wasn't the strongest. He was sort of in the middle, and he had, these giant big baboons on the outside doing his henchman work, and it was very interesting to see, and it reminded me a lot of human civilization. It's very similar.
Yeah, just in the most basic sense, like I mean, human fathers or monkeys, they could be so brutal that they would kill their own children if they thought that they might be a threat to them when they grow up or something, right? But
Yeah.
there's need to be compassionate towards this creature. I guess it's yours too, so that's taints it a little bit, but still, any compassion at all. I mean, it could have just been a food source. I mean, why not? Some
Yeah.
animals, I mean,
Lunch.
right.
Hot, fresh out of the oven.
Make it yourself.
Yeah. A 9-month brisket.
Disgusting. What were we talking about?
Well, I think we can get into. I wanted to bring
Okay,
up.
it's the way of
yeah.
nature versus the way of grace, which I think is similar to what she said. Gravity versus grace. It's kind of a different way
Yeah.
of saying it.
Yeah,
Gravity
I
being nature.
Yeah, I get the idea. Transcendence. Transcendence of being merely a leaf in the wind.
Well,
when
yeah,
I say
or
leaf
like
in the
say,
wind,
like-
I mean the wind. The leaf
or-
takes on the characteristic of the
Right.
wind. If the wind is dark or the wind is light, metaphorically,
There's
then you do whatever it does.
The Christ example, Christ, instead of just defeating all his enemies with spears, defeat them by being an ideal of his ideas, or make a self-sacrifice or something.
Right.
That's a transcendence of the natural way. Yeah, because the way of nature would adapt to do whatever cruel thing to stay alive. That's the way of nature.
The way of nature
And
is when you go into the gulag and the guards tell you to
It's like
kill someone or throw your wife in a hole. You do it.
it's like going on Survivor or something. Everybody you have to go way of nature to get like to episode 2, right? But somebody
Right.
would go in with the way of grace. Hi, everybody. I'm just here to help.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it would work on Survivor.
Probably not. But
Yeah.
I think we're getting closer to maybe not Survivor being the best example, but
Yeah.
yes.
I think the
way of-
gulag one works though,
that
right?
does
Yeah.
perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the one. Actually, I think that might be what Malick's next movie is about. The one guy who wouldn't
It is.
give
yeah.
in to Hitler. The one guy who would go to prison for his
It seems like he's
unwillingness to sort of
Hidden life.
I don't know what the story is exactly, but he's in prison because he's not succumbing
Yeah.
to the wave of Nazism in
right.
Austria or
He's
Germany.
a conscientious objector in World War II. Refused to join the Nazis, but didn't work out well for him. Called A Hidden Life. I'm hoping to see that this Sunday in Columbus, maybe.
But the intention matters, because I would be a conscientious objector just to save my own skin, to not put myself in any danger. That's why I would
don't
be
know.
a conscientious objector, right?
Raccoon Shooter might join the Nazis. Depends how old you are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. As long as I don't have to go to war. Whatever is safest and best for me.
I gotcha.